So who are you? What makes your identity? What makes you you? What have you been told that you are that type of person? Today we're going to talk a little bit about that. Hi and welcome to the BDM Perspective. My name is Brian and thanks for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this channel is meant to inspire and motivate myself and others to try new things and to look at things from a different perspective. So thanks for tuning in. If you like the channel, please think about liking, subscribing, and commenting down below. And let's get right into it. So today I want to talk about our identity, how we see ourselves and how we perceive ourselves and how we think others perceive us as well. And this also has to do with my previous video on the importance of starting new things and creating new things. And you'll see why that's important as well later on in this video. But I'm going to link that video down below and put a little link up above as well. So check that out too. But I got inspired by this to make this video after watching a video by Dr.Kanojia, who is a psychiatrist who specializes in gamer addiction. And he's got a whole video series on it. But a really cool thing that he talks about in one of his videos is how gamers perceive themselves at a young age. And so it really resonated with me. And so let me give you a little bit of a background on that video. And I'll also put a couple of clips in here so you can take a look at it. And I'm going to link his video down below as well. So in Dr. Kanojia's video, he talks about the identity that gamers get at a young age. So an important note that he brings about is that on average, gamers are smarter than the average person. And so at a young age, when gamers are told, by their parents, by their peers, that they're intelligent, that they're smart, and they see that, that kind of becomes their identity. And as they grow up, they have this identity as the smart kid and as really intelligent. And as they grow up, this identity continues on. But the problem with this, and what Dr. Kanojia talks about, is that this becomes their identity, that they don't want to change it at all. And that if they fail or try new things, it messes up their identity of being that smart, intelligent kid. So instead of doing things, they avoid it completely. Because if they were to try something new, if they were to speak in front of people, if they were to, experiment outside of their comfort zone, they might fail. And that's something that's not congruent with their identity. I think that's a really important thing to note, and this incongruence in their identity. Because once they're perceived as stupid or dumb, they no longer have that identity as that smart kid that they grew up with. And so many gamers, and just people in general who have this identity of smart, as being smart, continue on not trying new things, not getting new experiences, because there's this fear of failure in the back of their mind that can trump their whole identity. And this really resonated with me.
Actually wrong. And I think a lot of the paralysis that gamers have in doing things outside of a video game actually comes from the way that they're treated when they're very young. A lot of gamers are smart. Data actually shows that the average gamer is actually smarter than the rest of the average population, that you guys have higher IQs than the rest of the average person. And so what I found working with gamers is that a lot of gamers, when they grow up, they're told that they're smart. And so kids, when they're told they're smart, something very interesting happens. They start to develop this identity that I'm a smart kid. And when they start to develop an identity that they're a smart kid, they start to do things that reinforce that identity and stay away from things that contrast with that identity. So for example, if I'm a smart kid, I want to do things that other people are going to perceive as smart. But if there's something I'm not very good at, if there's something that I try and is going to make me look stupid, a kid is actually not going to do that. And so over time, what starts to happen is the smart kid only does things that make him appear to be smart, which means that things that are, generally speaking, easier, and stays away from things that are hard for them. And so this works out fine until they're like in 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, because as a smart kid, you don't have to spend a whole lot of time studying. You can just do the things that you want to, and everyone, like your parents or your teachers or your family or family friends, are all going to say, oh, look at that kid, he's so bright. But over time, what happens is those kinds of kids start to avoid challenging things. Because whenever they do something that's challenging, they feel stupid. And that's not who you are, right? Because you're a smart guy. And I know all of you guys think you're smart. You think you're super geniuses. And the funny thing is that's true. But as I'm sure you guys know, being smart isn't enough. So let's kind of go back a little bit to this idea of a smart kid doing only things that they feel is smart. And so when they do that, what happens is they start to avoid difficult things. And as the kid gets older, that avoidance becomes kind of baked in. It becomes a part of who they are and how they move around in the world. And so this avoidance actually starts at a very young age.
So why this resonated with me is because it felt like he was speaking to me. As a kid, I was told I was really smart. I got really good grades in school. My friends around me were really intelligent as well, and we were all gamers. We played a lot of video games and whatnot. And so being told at a young age that you're really smart and, you know, getting good grades around and being around this really intelligent group of friends, you have that identity of being the smart kid. And, you know, you were just expected to have good grades. And, you know, my parents would talk to other people about, oh yeah, Brian's doing great in school. And I just always had this identity. And it resonated with me when Dr. Kanojia was talking about how if you try new things, there might be an incongruence because you may fail at it. And I noticed, especially early on in like middle school and high school, how I didn't want to try new things. I didn't want to talk in front of people. Even if I may be correct in saying something, there was, you know, I was a 99% chance that I was correct, but there was still a 1% chance that I was incorrect. And I didn't want to fail at it. So it was better not to say anything, because then I would keep my identity of being, you know, intelligent. I'm really glad I got out of that mindset, because that is not the way you want to think about life in general. You want to try new things, you want to experiment, and you want to fail, and that's not bad. And so I think an early thing that happened to me when I was going to college, and a really humbling moment, was when I got further on and failed one of my engineering courses. And it was a really humbling moment because it was like, well, maybe I'm not as smart as I thought I was, or maybe I'm not that identity that I set myself up for. And at first it was troublesome because, whoa, what, like, if I'm not the smart kid, like, what else is there? And I think this happens with a lot of people. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, being smart. It could be being, you know, the dumb kid. It could be being the person who only, you know, only goes to the gym. It could be the person who is, you know, fat. It could be anything that you identify yourself with early on, and that just continues throughout life. And you put yourself into this box. Instead of experimenting with other things, you put yourself into this box and you just keep on reinforcing that idea. And that's what happened to me. And I kept on reinforcing the idea of the smart kid. I'm not saying that, you know, you shouldn't do things, you know, within that realm, but you also need to experiment outside of that. And I think that was a really big life-changing moment for me that showed, you know what, maybe I'm not what I thought I was. And maybe there's other things, and maybe there's multiple identities. Maybe that's just not me. And that's where this video really resonated with me, because that's really important to notice. Another key aspect, and a way that Dr. Kanojia talks about how to get over this fear of failure, or specifically with a person who's intelligent or has this identity as an intelligent person, and to get over this fear of failing or looking like you're, you know, stupid for trying something new and failing at it, is to reframe that look and that perspective. Reframe how you look at new experiences and trying new things. And the way you reframe that is, instead of looking at it as, oh, I failed at it, oh, I might fail at it, is to reframe it into, I'm not that experienced yet. I'm inexperienced in this area of this subject or of this skill set. I don't have the experience yet. And when you reframe and change your perspective on how you look at it, instead of looking at it as failure, you look at it as inexperience. It's not that bad. You're just inexperienced in this area, and the more you do it, the more experience you get, you level up. And you get better at it. That is a crucial moment, because now you take a look at all of these new things that you could start, and you start them, and then you gain experience at them, and you get better at them. And that is how you should be looking at life, and that is how you should be looking at the new things that you start. And it's so valuable to look at it like that. So I'm really glad that I've reframed my mindset. I mean, there's still hang-ups on trying new things and failing, but it's much less so than it was before, because after you try the new things, it's just, you get exposure to them and you notice that they're not that bad. And then you get more experience with it, and then you get better at it. And then you feel more confident about it. And that's what happens with everything. And so I think it's important to not put yourself into a box, into these categories, into these identities that you may think you have, or someone told you that you have, or you perceive yourself as. And just like that movie Fight Club, where they talk about you're not your job, you're not the contents of your wallet, you're not your car. And that's the truth. You're not what you wear, you're not any of that, and you're not truly what you perceive yourself as, or what you think others perceive yourself as. You can perceive yourself as anything, really. It just takes a little bit of time. Because if you start off with this identity early on in life and you continue on with it, if you never break the chain of it, you're just going to continue on with this identity. And it's so important to observe that and to notice when you have this and that it's happening. I'm not going to say it's going to be perfect. You're not going to break it like initially, like, you're not just going to, whoa, I'm a completely new person. It's going to take some time, and it still takes some time with me. Like, I still go back to certain habits or certain ways from before, but I've noticed a significant difference when you change your perspective and you look at things in a different way. And in this way, if you look at trying new things as you're just gaining experience when you didn't have any experience before, and you're improving upon it, it's so much better, and it's kind of a liberating feeling. So hopefully you guys liked that video. If you did, please think about liking, commenting, and subscribing down below. If you do have any questions, please let me know. If you have any topics that you'd like me to talk about, let me know down below as well. And if you want to watch Dr. Kanojia's full video, I put it down in the description down below. I really recommend checking it out because it is a great video, fantastic, and check out more of his stuff. All right, well, you guys have a good one. Talk to you guys next time.